So here we have the latest action cameras from the biggest companies: Insta360, GoPro, and DJI. And in today's video, I'm gonna share my experience using all these cameras for many months, and which camera makes my everyday workflow better, and which camera I think is the best bang for your buck. So first up here, we have the latest action camera from DJI, the Action 3. This can record for days or until the battery dies or the SD card fills up. The second up is the GoPro, which overall offers the highest resolution and provides both good stabilization like the Action 3 and 10-bit colors, which you can also find in the Action 3. Though this is the Hero 10. It doesn't have the 10-bit color space, but I will come back to why I'm sticking to this later in this video. The last one up is the Insta360 X3, the all-in-one camera that gives you endless options and the camera that can record everything, literally everything. And if you didn't know, you can also use this as a regular action camera like the Action 3 and the GoPro. And this is probably the camera with the best overall stabilization. Insta360 is well known for its flow state stabilization, and in my opinion, I think that is the best stabilization that you can get. Now, you might already know the specs of these cameras, but if you don't, I will leave 3 dedicated videos of each of these cameras down in the description below if you want to check them out. Now, this video is mainly about the convenience of the 3 cameras and how I've been using them for months. Which camera do I prefer and which camera is the easiest to use? This video will be completely transparent. There's no sponsorship included from any of these brands, and I will give you the whole unfiltered truth about using these 3 devices. So, when you're looking for an action camera, there's 2 main factors that plays a huge role in your decision. The way that you see other people using these cameras, and a good example is Red Bull. And also, the other factor is the way that you're gonna use this camera. And there's also another factor here. If you can only choose one, which one will give you the most unique shots and which will give you a better experience, and which camera will elevate your videos or take your creativity to new heights. So when you're getting an action camera, it shouldn't be based just on high quality footage, insane battery life, and waterproof below 10 meters. It should also add something to your life, to your videos, and make shooting a video more fun. So these are the things I'll be going through in today's video, and at the end it will be completely up to you whether you pick one or all 3. So let's start with quality. The GoPro can record videos as high as 5.3K resolution, which alone is pretty impressive if you ask me. Though the Insta360 X3 can record videos up to 5.7K resolution, but this is spread throughout a 360-degree field of view, and the final export after reframing the 360 footage will look similar to 2.7K when exported in ProRes at 4K resolution. The Action 3, on the other hand, is limited to 4K recording, but most of us don't need more than 4K anyways, and shooting at a higher resolution might also cause some issues, because this can increase the workflow for the average user due to bigger files, which also might result in slower computer performance when editing your videos. And if we look at the leap from 4K to 5.3K, it's not that noticeable when putting them side by side. So here we have 3 shots, one from each camera. All of these looks good to me, and there's no major parts in each of these clips which will make me turn away from the video, because they all look good. But on paper, the GoPro is the winner because of the high resolution coming straight out of the camera. But if you're looking to get a new action camera, don't decide based on the resolution offered by the company, but rather the versatility, reliability, and ease of use, which I will come back to in a sec. Now let's talk about battery life. Battery life is the most crucial part when you get an action camera. You don't want it to die out in the middle of some action or when you're out shooting in a warm summer day. And there's tons of different battery tests out there, most done in controlled environments, and yes, these are all good tests to see how long the camera can record before the camera overheats or the battery runs out. But let's be honest, you're not getting an action camera to sit there and record an empty space for hours just to see how long you can record for. And most of the cameras that you can get now will record for at least 10 to 15 minutes without any issues. But I've also done some of these tests in the past as well, and to be honest, I think it it was nothing but a waste of time. Now, I've been traveling for years and I've never experienced any issues with any of these three cameras. So to me, it doesn't really matter if the camera can record continuously for 1 or 2 hours. I never record longer than 10 to 15 minutes anyway, because most of the time I end up using only a few minutes out of the shots that I captured, and at times not even as much as a minute, maybe like 30 seconds. I record for 10 minutes, but I use 30 seconds. So if I'm gonna have it recording for 1 to 2 hours, that would just be a waste of storage and a waste of my time. But from my experience using these three cameras in particular, I can only see an issue with the GoPro Hero 10. On paper, the Action 3 wins, then we have the X3 and then the GoPro. But in reality, the battery life comes down to resolution, frame rate, bitrate, and the settings that you use with the camera when you are recording. But I did experience some issues with the GoPro 10 when I was out shooting, and I had the battery at about 60%, and I made a drive for about 4 minutes and then realized that the GoPro had turned itself off. I'm not sure why, but the latest GoPro models is actually known to be quite unreliable. So that's also something that I'm questioning now that I have the GoPro 10, the Action 3 and the Insta360 X3. But I will come to that in a sec. But for my daily use, the battery life of these three cameras are basically the same, especially for the way that I use these cameras. Now, another thing which seems to split people up quite a bit is the color space coming from these cameras. Personally, I like them all. They look outstanding. You have the vibrant or the natural color profile, which I use on the GoPro, and on the Action 3, I have the desync-like and the vivid color profile on the X3. And with my Signature LUTs, these can be easily color matched without any issues at all. There's just, you dump the LUT on and you're good to go, and change the intensity slider and you have your desired look. Links in the description below if you want to check them out. And if you're more into that run and gun shooting and just want to focus on the story of your video and maximize your workflow, the normal profiles coming from these cameras is actually looking amazing. But if you prefer to shoot with a flat color profile, these three cameras also do have that. We have the desync-like on the Action 3, we have the flat profile on the GoPro, and the flat profile on the Insta360 X3. And if you want to spice this up a little bit more, you can correct that image and then you can apply my Signature LUT if you already have that, and if you don't have it, make sure to check it out down in the description below. Now let's talk about exporting. So when you're out traveling, you might want to upload some shots right away to Instagram, maybe YouTube Shorts or TikTok. And the fastest way to do this is to use the apps which is provided by the different companies. So the GoPro has the GoPro Quick app, the DJI Action 3 has the DJI Memo app, and the Insta360 X3 has the Insta360 app, both on your smartphone and also on your desktop. So to get the footage over to one of these apps, you have to connect the camera to your phone using the app. And this is a pretty seamless process, except for the GoPro, which is known to have some massive issues with the app connection. The app continuously fails to connect, and getting the files over to your phone has always been a pain, especially for me. And to be honest, I have no idea of how good or bad the GoPro Quick app is to edit videos coming from the GoPro, because I've literally given up. Now, DJI Memo and Insta360 on the other hand is two amazing apps which is both reliable and easy to use. With these apps, I've never experienced any connection failures, and they are both extremely beginner friendly. However, there can only be one winner. Now, despite the DJI Memo being a fantastic app, the editing process is fairly tedious, and I find the AI editor to be quite limited and doesn't give you that wow feeling during or after your edit is done. So it's best used to control the camera settings when mounted to shoot something like a time-lapse or a b-roll of yourself when you're out hiking, just to make sure you're in the frame and the exposure is good. The Insta360 app, on the other hand, is the most versatile and up-to-date app I've ever used with an action camera. And the best part about it is that you only have one app which controls every single camera they have. It's straightforward to use and it's actually a lot more fun than the other two apps. And instead of spending hours on editing, you have most of the features you need at the tip of your fingers. My favorite is definitely Deep Track, especially when I'm out with my bike. I can just select myself and it starts tracking. I can also mix it up by having some parts of the video tracking myself and other parts of the video where I adjust the position with keyframes. And the Insta360 app will definitely keep your attention. The editing experience is on a whole different level when it comes to how quick it is and how easy it is to upload videos. Now, Insta360 also have their Insta360 Studio app where you can edit your videos in the same way using tracking, speed changes, and keyframes. But it also allows you to export your footage in ProRes to get the highest quality out of this camera. And if you want to take your videos to the next level, you can also use the GoPro reframe add-on for Premiere Pro or After Effects to get the smoother movement and transitions. But the downside with this is that it requires a subscription plan to Premiere Pro or After Effects. Now, one of the biggest questions that I get asked about these cameras is the versatility and ease of use. Which is the better camera for you and so on? I can't answer that because I'm not you, but I can only give you my straight up honest opinion about these three cameras and which of these three cameras that I'm actually the most excited about to use on a daily basis and bring with me on my next trip, and which I find to be the most fun. Now, these are all action cameras in some form, but one shoots 360 videos. One has a quick lock magnetic system for easy swap between horizontal and vertical videos, as well as two touchscreens, and one was the inventor of the first real action camera. Not the actual first camera, but what people started looking at as the real deal back in the days when it comes to action cameras. The GoPro. So both the GoPro and the Action 3 has the same form and abilities. They record with a lens in front and they capture what they point at. It's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. But the Insta360 X3 has two lenses, one on each side, and records 360 degrees of video, which you later reframe in the Studio app or on your phone. And I think I've covered most of this in my last X3 video, so if you haven't seen that, I highly suggest that you go over and watch that after this video. It will be linked down in the description below. But I can't talk for everyone because everyone is using these cameras differently and has a different purpose for their cameras. But since I'm the average person which travels once or twice a year, I will give you my straight up unfiltered, non-sponsored opinion about the use of these cameras. So first up, we have the GoPro Hero 10. This is the one that I've used the most because I've had it the longest. Now, after using the Hero 10 for more than a year now, it holds up pretty well. In form of versatility, not much has changed. It's the same small camera that fits in my pocket and I can mount it in the same places I mounted it before. So I guess versatility only comes down to how you use it, what type of accessories you use with it, and where and when you mount it. That would be the versatility of a GoPro. So the GoPro is not really that versatile, but it's the way that you use the GoPro which is bringing more versatility to the camera. But as for using the camera, it has held up pretty good over the past year. The screen is no better or worse than it was when I first picked up this camera, and the footage comes out looking the exact same. Now, I think it comes down to the GoPros being so similar to each other, and it doesn't really matter if you have the GoPro 9, 10 or 11, or well, it depends on your shooting environment and length. It seems like the newer model you have, the faster it will overheat, but as of use, it's the same now as it has been for the past year. But the Action 3 takes it up a notch if you ask me. With the magnetic base that you have on this camera, you can literally mount it anywhere. And if you get a bunch of these magnetic mounts here, you can also place these on your most used items like your helmet, your FPV drone, a selfie stick, a longer selfie stick, and so on. You also have the dual touchscreen, one on the front and one on the back, both providing the exact same functions. And if you're making shorts or Instagram reels, you can use the included cage and just swap it from a horizontal perspective to a vertical position and start shooting. Personally, I never shoot vertical videos with my Action 3, but if you do, you'll have a much faster and better way of doing so with the Action 3 over the GoPro Hero 10 or 11. The Action 3 is also extremely easy to use. It's just like any other camera, hit the record and it will record. But the touchscreen is really amazing. It feels like you're swiping on your phone, and navigating through the settings is also pretty satisfying. Frame rates, different resolutions, or maybe you want to go from a video to photo and so on. It's so much more satisfying because you don't have that additional lag or glitch which you typically have with the GoPro when you go from one section to the other section. It usually jumps a little bit, and the overall experience of an Action 3 is on a whole different level than a GoPro. I mean, once you hit that record button and it starts to record, it does the job, but the overall experience of the Action 3 is better than a GoPro. So the Insta360 X3. This is probably the most versatile and fun camera that I've ever used. Basically point and shoot and you're done. You don't even have to point it. You can just place it somewhere, hit the record button, and then you can do everything later in post. And I think that is amazing. And if I'm gonna be dead honest, I've never had so much fun using an action camera. I mean, it's amazing how this technology works, and to be able to just hit record and frame it later is, like I said, it's amazing. And I just have to say, if you're holding off on getting the X3 because you think the reframing process is tedious or it looks hard, don't. It's extremely easy and more satisfying to use than you might think. One of the things I think a lot of people get wrong is that you actually do most of the editing when you are reframing the shots coming from the X3 in the app or in the Studio app. So when you're inside the Insta360 Studio app and you edit the video, you reframe and do all the changes there. And once you export this video, you're basically done. You place it on your timeline and that's it. And if you want to upload that file directly to YouTube, you don't have to put it on your timeline even. You can just, take the file and upload to YouTube and done. So the process is exactly the same. It doesn't take any longer. And I think a lot of people mix that up and get that wrong, because you do the editing of the footage coming from this in the Studio app or on the app on your phone. And if you're using something like Final Cut Pro, that's basically more of a placeholder for your video until you put the remaining parts of the video together and then export the entire video to upload to something like YouTube. So I think a lot of people mix that up and get that wrong. But yeah, let's get back on track here. The Insta360 X3 is, in my opinion, the must-have of these three cameras. Like I said, you capture everything and you can mount it anywhere, just like the Action 3 and the GoPro, but this actually adds more. It adds a 360-degree view, which you're not getting with any of these. So the X3 adds more flexibility and the option to create more dynamic shots, and you don't really need to worry about the selfie stick being in frame or visible either, because it has that invisible selfie stick, which is awesome. My favorite one is this. This is the 3-meter carbon fiber selfie stick, which I also use with my other devices like a smaller gimbal, other cameras. I use it with everything, and this is awesome. So if you don't have this, I recommend that you check it out. The link's in the description. It's highly recommended. Now, another thing which is awesome with the X3 is that it has that action camera look which you get with these two cameras, the Action 3 and the GoPro. It has the exact same feature, which is recording in 4K 30 FPS. So unfortunately, we cannot go higher than 30 FPS and 4K resolution. I don't mind that 30 FPS, to be honest, because I record all my videos except for the Sony a7S III here in 30 FPS. Now, the touchscreen on the X3 has a nice clean layout, which also has a similar feel to it as the Action 3 when you navigate around, which I really like. Now, if you didn't watch my trending video on the X3, I also want to say that this has 4-directional microphone. What that means is that you basically reframe the audio in the Insta360 Studio app. So you decide where the audio is coming from, which is awesome. So to me, The versatility of the X3 is on a whole different level. It adds much more value to my trips, my hikes, travels, rides, you name it, simply because I don't have to think about anything when I'm out shooting. I can enjoy more of what I'm doing, then later come back to the office and reframe however I want, and maybe catch something I wouldn't be able to catch with a regular action camera, or something I didn't pay attention to. So my final conclusion, based on my user experience, my personal experience using these three cameras for months, which one do I think is the best overall investment based on the overall quality, versatility, ease of use, and durability? As for the GoPro lineup, I would get the GoPro 8 or 9, and to be honest, skip the newer models until they have solved a lot of their issues. There is a lot of overheating going on with number 11. A lot of creators have mentioned this. I mean, if you are that action guy or girl, or you do a lot of activities with this, which will bring a lot of wind to it, or maybe you take it out for surfing, diving, whatever, yes, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna perform extremely well because it doesn't have any issues with the overheating, because it constantly has things that cools it down. But the story of my GoPro Hero 10 is actually that this is my third GoPro Hero 10 in 3 weeks. Now, prior to our trip to Hawaii last year, I bought my first GoPro Hero 10, and it was awful. It did connect to the app for once, but failed to download the firmware, and the screen was also extremely laggy because of this, so I returned it. The second GoPro, it didn't connect to the app at all, so I returned that as well and prepared myself for a trip to Hawaii without a GoPro for the very first time. 1 week before our departure, I decided to give it a last try anyway, so I got myself a third GoPro Hero 10. And this one seemed to be flawless. And for the first time in many years, I actually had a really great time with a GoPro. So that's the main reason why I haven't swapped this out. It seems like I finally have a working GoPro with no issues. So I'm not gonna change this up until this fails. Now, as for the Action 3, this is one amazing camera. But if you have one from the first batch, like me, it still has some focus issues, which has been better after a minor sharpening update by DJI. Personally, I don't really mind that because I don't really film that close with it, but some people said that the new batch has a complete fix for that, and there's also videos out there giving you a permanent fix. Now, durability of this camera is on the extreme compared to any action camera that I've used before. The overall usability of this camera with the magnetic quick lock system makes this a keeper. But for me, it just doesn't add that extra kick when I play back and watch the videos captured with the Action 3. It's nothing special compared to the GoPro, it's just, different color profiles and different resolutions. So all in all, these are standing quite equal, but I do favor the Action 3 a lot more than the GoPro because this is 1000% reliable. Every single time it's done exactly what I told it to do. So yes, but there is only one winner, and that is the X3. Not only does this camera give you endless framing options, but it also works as a regular action camera. And with this, I can create videos I can't do with the other two cameras. And it gives me a reason to film more, be more creative with my shots, or I don't even have to be creative. I can just point and shoot and be creative later. So this is a camera I can strongly recommend alongside with the Action 3. But if you only have the budget to get one of these, I would personally get the X3 first and then wait for the price to drop on the Action 3 before I got my hands on that. Now, as for the X3, there is a link down in the description below which will give you free accessories if you pick up the X3 from Insta360's website. Free accessories, SD card, and a selfie stick. But I also recommend that you grab the 3-meter carbon fiber selfie stick because it is essential. You can do so many different things with this, and once you get your Action 3, you can also put that on this selfie stick if you want to do that. So there you have my comparison of these cameras, and there is only one winner to me, and that is the X3. On the second place, the Action 3, and the third place, maybe the GoPro or the Insta360 Go 2. But links will be down below if you want to grab any of these action cameras. Also, my Signature LUTs are down there at a discounted price, and my motion graphics, which you've seen here on this channel as well. And if you have the Mini 3 Pro, make sure to grab the free cheat sheets down in the description below as well, and make sure to share those with others as well, or at least, you know, point them to the video. That would be appreciated. So if you found any value in today's video, and if I was able to point you in the right direction of which one to get, then, you know, drop a like for the algorithm. That would be appreciated. And if you are brand new, make sure that you subscribe as well, so you don't miss out on the future videos, which will be coming soon with the Action 3 and the X3. It's gonna be amazing. So until next time, take care, and I will see you in the next video.